Шановні пані та панове, лишається кілька секунд. Будь ласка, пройдіть до зали та займайте свої місця.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. We are beginning now.
ласка, починайте.
The government has held a comprehensive audit of the state, and within 2 weeks, we are going to present its results, finally. But even today, we see that there's a lot of work ahead. The audit of the economy is Ukraine's bill for the last 30 years. It's a bill for incomprehensive economic policy, for the absence of comprehensive reforms and demagoguery in the development of the country, and full lack of responsibility. It's about time to stop this. The government has a team that is willing for change and is willing to lead the country towards leadership in the region. So what was this audit going to be about? It was going to be about everything that influences the economic development in this country, everything that concerns the population. And we have built a working group with the cabinet of ministers headed by the Prime Minister of Ukraine, including over 50 representatives of the government, the representatives of the Verkhovna Rada, and the President of Ukraine. The interaction of this group with think tanks and business associations has created a platform of economic development and restoration. We have held working groups and discussions, and I'd like to say thanks for including business, because prior strategies were built without involving business, but now we can see that business is involved. The voice of business is heard, and this pleases us, and we're very thankful to the people who are developing this strategy right now. The economic audit of the country. Dear ladies and gentlemen, the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky. Good morning, everybody. Have a good and vigorous morning. You know, today we have assembled to discuss a very important issue, to discuss the future of our country. But on this day, we need to start with the past. On the 6th of November, we commemorate the 77th anniversary of freeing Kiev from the Nazi occupants. We will never forget the high cost that our ancestors have paid for this, and we will never stop to be thankful to them. You can believe or not believe in symbols, but I believe that today is a very special day for our country and for our team. And I'm not even talking about the office of the President of Ukraine, about the parliament and the government, because our team is us and over 40 million Ukrainians. Today we're going to present the results of a very significant effort. That's the national economic audit of our country. This, I think, would be an iconic or even an historic moment for each Ukrainian. Next year, our country is going to turn 30 years. And I think this is about time to draw some conclusions, to grow up, to leave illusions and rosy glasses at the door, and to give a very objective assessment of where we're at right now and where we're going and what we are ready to do to get there. The audit of the state is a path towards responding to these questions. We have held a first comprehensive analysis of the state that Ukraine is in to understand where we have made mistakes throughout the previous years. I'd like to highlight that this is more than just slides or figures. This is something that is not about scapegoating or blaming everything on the predecessors. But it's something. This is the kind of negative thinking that we want to leave at the door. Ukraine is not sick. I think we've been just very modest. We have been shy to dream. We were not ambitious enough. I don't think we were decisive enough to become one of the more successful countries in our region. The audit is an analysis of things that we have been afraid of, things that we've been concerned about, and things that have been hindering our development. All of these things have to be left in the past. The government is going to present the key vectors of economic development for Ukraine until 2030. We will understand where our economy is going to move. In order to sustain development and to create potential and to create breakthrough ideas, and not to catch up, but to be several steps ahead. These are some very important, but not the last steps we're going to take. On the basis of the audit, we expect the strategy of economic development up until 2030 to be development. And we know that the government is hard at work on developing this document, and they have involved business, civil society, the academia, and international consultants. I'd like to say that this is going to be a very important document. The strategy will be more than just a declaration, but a key plan and roadmap for all of the branches of the state government in Ukraine. It has to also be approved and accepted by the society at large and become a sort of an economic constitution and the embodiment of our national idea in Ukraine. It's time to stop this time when the strategy is defined not by values but by the names on the doors of the government offices. It's time for a new tradition. The names of state officials may change and will change, but the vision, the philosophy, and the global goals and missions of our nation are not going to change. And we as society need to adopt this and to accept this, that we need to stride forward together towards a common, successful, and strong, and modern, and rich future for our country. Thank you very much, and glory to Ukraine. Ladies and gentlemen, the head of the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine, Dmytro Razumkov. Good morning, dear colleagues, dear Mr. President, Mr. Prime Minister. I'm very happy to be here today at the presentation of the strategy. This was one of the key promises of our election campaign, and I think the government of Ukraine and the nation of Ukraine that has elected its government and its president has been thinking likewise. One of the key basic things that are necessary to achieve success is a correct mission statement. But in order to get to the goal, we need to have a strategy of where we're moving. And we need these steps to be effective. And for that, we need to understand what resources we have at our disposal right now. In order to have this understanding, we need an audit. We understand that it has been quite late to happen. It would have been better if that happened all the way back in 1991. But it is what it is. We have what we have, and I hope that Mr. Prime Minister is going to present this audit today. And it's not just going to be a document for a document's sake. And I'm very thankful to the representatives of business which were in the video in the beginning of this presentation. I'm very thankful to business for collaborating with the executive government in order to build a happy future for our country. From my side, from the side of the members of Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine, I'd like to reiterate that we are always on your side and we are always ready to cooperate on constructive and successful developments and all initiatives towards this end. And I really hope that we can achieve this together. My congratulations go to you upon this initiative. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, the Prime Minister of Ukraine, Denis Shmyhal. Good morning, Mr. President, Mr. Head of the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine, dear guests and our online audience. Today we're happy to present the economic audit of Ukraine and our vectors for economic development until 2030. These are going to be the foundational documents for the development of the economic strategy of Ukraine. Our motto here is rethinking our potential, rethinking of the potential of our country. In 2019, we have held an investment forum in Mariupol with the attendance by Mr. President Zelensky in 2019 in Mariupol. And in this forum, we invited investors to rethink Ukraine as an investment opportunity. And right now, we are inviting you to rethink the economic potential of our country. In the spring, the President has tasked the government to define what we're going to enter the next decade with. But without an assessment of our current resources, we are unable to select our mission statements for the next years. And we need to understand what were the results of managing our country in the last several years and how we compare to our neighbors and other countries of the world. And right now, we have over $1 trillion of GDP has been some unrealized potential of our country. 1 trillion is what we, as all citizens, have lost through constant change of economic vectors, corruption, ineffective governments, and other things. Our goal is to realize the potential and implement the potential of our nation to the fullest. I'm going to briefly cover each key aspect where Ukraine hasn't implemented its full potential. Tens of experts have been at work to calculate the losses of the economy of Ukraine. Land. Ukraine has underused its land potential amounting to $85 billion. And for 25 years, the free disposal of land has been restricted and its value has been constrained. But at this time, the government has lost over significant amounts of hectares of land. Development of land resources has been stalled. But we are hard at work to make that change. We hope that in the next several years, the Ukrainian GDP is going to gain over $85 billion. We think that land is going to appreciate over fivefold. There are over 12,000 fields of different minerals in Ukraine, and only a third of them are being developed. So, in fact, this is only about 4,000 land plots that are in development right now. Developing and mining minerals does not mean export. It means creating a basis for high value and high technology products. We have oil, gas, and metals and minerals. We are talking about a fantastic 400 billion potential, which we are going to tap into in the next decade. Water resources is over $12 billion. We have been ignoring the development of hydroelectricity, and this is something that we have been using only halfway, as well as aquaculture and irrigation. Irrigation has been developed less than 20%. For example, in the southern regions of Ukraine, an effective irrigation system would allow us to increase crop yields 2.5 to 3-fold. We believe that this is also untapped potential, which has potential to increase our GDP. Forests and woods. We were supposed to use our timber industry to feed our own production, and that would allow us to save over $40 billion of GDP. And I think this is added value. It's jobs and it's processing, and not only raw material export. Minus $407 billion potential in external trade. Even with the existing trade structures and existing trade agreements, we are losing such colossal money. By supporting export and trade diplomacy, we can raise the exports to the countries of Africa and Latin America and go further. Right now, a tactical mission for the Ministry of Strategic Industries is to enable $1 billion of extra export contracts for Ukrainian manufacturers. And this is not ambitious at all. This is a tactical thing that we just need to implement. Technological potential for our country. In all sectors of high-tech industry, we have potential which we are yet to tap into. This is aerospace, this is machine building, electronics, and other industries which are represented here and which you can see on the screen. We really own this, and these are our geopolitical advantages, even as compared to our neighbors. Stimulating the industries which create most added value is of key importance to us. Investment potential, we believe, amounts to $63 billion. The region is very attractive for investment, but in these 30 years, over tens of billions of dollars have bypassed Ukraine. We lose to our competition to Poland to the amount of about $200 billion. This amounts to roughly six market capitalization of Tesla. Last year, the direct investment to Ukraine was five times less than private money transfers of our citizens. This is very sad, and this is why we need to increase the attractiveness of Ukraine as an investment platform. In global ratings and rankings, we see that we have great, educated, and talented citizens ready for innovation, but the government has sadly not created enough opportunities for them, and we see that reflect in the key rankings. And we see the influence of these rankings on our GDP. That's why we need to work very hard to make our GDP grow in the spheres and industries which are undervalued in Ukraine. The economic audit is Ukraine's bill for years of imbalanced economic policy, lack of sufficiently developed institutions, and other things. If we are able to tackle the reasons for this, we will be able to drive the development of GDP twofold. Is that possible? Yes, it is. We see that many countries with a clear strategy and unity in their governmental teams, they were able to double their GDPs, even though their potential was much less than that of Ukraine. If we extrapolate their results to Ukrainian growth, we may get twice more average salaries, 3 times more average pensions, and around 3 to 4 times more spending on defense, medicine, and education. The government has defined 30 high-priority projects which need to be implemented until 2030. These are going to be the vectors of our long-term development strategy. A part of them are the decrease of state ownership in the economy, deregulation of business, development and mining of minerals, development of infrastructure for agriculture, an attractive legal and tax regime for innovative and research-based companies, as well as the strengthening of trade diplomacy and creation of conditions for education, medicine, culture, and social services. These will be our starting positions for our wide and all-encompassing dialogue with our society in the times when, in order to enable a more successful and more fulfilling life for our country, which, like the head of the Verkhovna Rada said, which we deserve, and like the president said, we need to be ambitious and we need to set ambitious goals and work hard at achieving them. Thank you very much for your attention. Ladies and gentlemen, first Deputy Head of Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine, Ruslan Stefanchuk. Good morning, dear colleagues, Mr. President, Mr. Head of Verkhovna Rada, Mr. Prime Minister. Indeed, when the President's team has achieved an electoral victory, one of the first things that we talked about was a full-fledged audit of our government. These things would allow us to obtain 3 resources, which is the economic resource, human capital, and third is the time resource. That's why I'm very happy that even though it was a little late, we have been able to perform this immense effort to create this baseline for economic development from where we understand all of the preconditions and we can model all of the consequences of development of our country. But any activity boils down to good statesmanship, and statesmanship has a form of laws and regulations and other meaningful actions. And I'd like to demonstrate how this activity is going to implement in our legislative activity. This is the result of legislative work of all the previous convocations of the Verkhovna Rada. In blue you see the proposals, and in red you see the ones actually adopted. And you see that the efficiency of our legislative process is what could be amounted to legislative spam or legislative tsunami. When we talk about what happens in our parliament in terms of legislative tsunami, is duplicating and competing bills, chasing after quantitative and not qualitative indicators. It's the war between the first and second drafts, or war of amendments. Sometimes amendments are introduced just for stalling purposes only, and that's why economic growth is usually constrained by these issues. Now we see there are a lot of what we see is a lot of problems, of which I isolated 15 key issues with legislative activity. But one of the most important issues and most important missions for us is based on the strategy that is being formed to form the plan and strategy of legislative development of our country. That's why any development goes through 4 key stages. First is defining strategies and priorities. Second is developing TORs and analytics. This is the content stage. Third is tactical implementation. And fourth, which is never usually done, is the monitoring level, where we try to understand and reflect upon whether this decision that has been adopted has achieved its intended purpose. When we talk about being at an inflection point where we define the strategic level, we need to establish the key tenets for our legislative activity. And we see the most important program documents, which is the program for the president, for our party, the president's addresses, the strategic documents of advisory bodies. We're going to add one more pillar here, which is the economic strategy until 2030. I think this document, along with the other ones indicated here, need to be the foundations of all decisions made by the Parliament going forward. That's why the plan of legislative activity must include and consider the bandwidth of the Verkhovna Rada, of the Cabinet of Ministers, and to process these decisions and to form high-quality documents. Concerning legislative activity, as you know, last year we have voted on the plan of legislative initiatives. Now we are reformatting it, but we would like to achieve at a range of 250 bills, which will become the foundation of these changes. So it's very important for me that all of the three subjects of legislative initiative, which is the President, the Verkhovna Rada, and the Cabinet of Ministers, are now working in accord to formulate this plan. But it's very important to define what we need to change on the level of Constitution of Ukraine, of the things we need to recodify, as well as the things we need to adopt to harmonize our law to our international obligations, adopting only fundamental bills and not just technical bills. Draft laws which need to be cancelled, because we need to understand the list of draft laws and regulations which we will need for deregulation. The laws which we need to abolish in order to get rid of Soviet and post-Soviet heritage, as for example, the so-called economic code, which enforces a Soviet model of the economy. We need to adopt the one in, two out principle, which means if we adopt one law, we need to abolish two others, which are redundant in legacy. We also need to consider the issues of political development, international obligations, the harmonization of existing laws, as well as considering the voice of the opposition and a number of other key things. So I'm very thankful for this rapid pace that we're taking. I know that we have a plan of legislative activity until 2021, which is in accord with the government's plan of regulation. I think only good statesmanship is a key to the future. Like Mark Twain said, any complicated question always has a very simple and wrong answer. But I ask you to look for difficult but right solutions to the issues at hand. Glory to Ukraine. The Prime Minister of Ukraine, Denis Shmyhal. Dear Ukrainians, the audit that we have held together with business, with the members of the Verkhovna Rada, with think tanks, analytical centers, and business associations is not about criticizing our predecessors. It's not a diagnosis. It's about a frank conversation. It's about a frank discussion of the potential of our country, why we live like we do, and how do we make the life in Ukraine better so that we can feel the development and can use the potential that we have. An audit of the economy is an audit of opportunities lost or untapped, and the reasons behind these losses and the ways to go forward from here. Together with the reasons, we want to see the vectors for further development. So we have presented not only the audit, but the plan for further development. In the first quarter of 2021, we will present the strategy of economic development of Ukraine until 2030. And we are going to work together on this, involving business, the parliament, the civil society, analytical centers and think tanks. And it's a lot of work. That's why we would like to be together on this. Our doors are always open. We'd like to discuss and collaborate on this. Let's make Ukraine rich and successful together. Glory to Ukraine.